Welcome, beautiful Paris Saint Germain family. Paris Saint Germain have won the UEFA Champions League, I believe, around, 2 weeks ago? Less than that. But the Paris Saint Germain haters, the narrative shifters, have already found excuses on why Paris Saint Germain should not get propped for winning the UEFA Champions League. And as you can see by the title, we're here to debunk and expose the myth that Paris Saint Germain bought the Champions League, or were expected to get the Champions League, or this should not be seen as a success because Paris Saint Germain should already have 3 Champions Leagues. And this is the video that's going to help us explain this. So this is called the Football Run. It's a so-called neutral account, but the guy having it is obviously a Barca fan. So let's see the reasons on why Paris Saint Germain's win the Champions League is ugly.
Real reason PSG won the Champions League is ugly. And
it's ugly.
You have to see this.
Well, we have to see this.
Paris Saint Germain just lifted their first ever
UCL
title by beating Inter in the most one-sided UCL final of all time.
Yeah, and when you see this, you're like, wow, this Paris Saint Germain side must be one of the most dominant sides of all time, in the Champions League at least.
Well, let me tell you what was the problem with PSG.
Where's the
Put
problem?
things in perspective, last season, PSG made 22 million euros from TV rights in Ligue 1 and had an average home attendance of 47,000. Meanwhile, Inter made 100 million euros from TV rights in the Serie A and had an attendance of over 70,000. However, over the last 3 seasons, Inter have spent just over 200 million in the transfer window.
Whilst Paris Saint Germain spent 800 million euros. Alright. So he's comparing PSG to Inter. Let's do this. Let's do this. Oh, I love this. First of all, we look at this. So we search football revenue, and we will find Deloitte. This website right here does yearly football revenues. So they have it for, I think, last season is the latest that they have. For example, you can see Paris Saint Germain. So this is, 23-24. So this is for last season. And as you can see, Paris Saint Germain has the 3rd highest revenue in the world, only behind Manchester City and Real Madrid. Real Madrid, it's not really that much because, they've recently built the new Bernabeu and they've taken, I think, 1.5 billion in debt. So this is their revenue, but a chunk of that revenue immediately goes away to pay away the loan. That's why we haven't seen Madrid, in the transfer market like a PSG or a City that don't have that. Second of all, if you look at football clubs with 0 debt, excuse me? Okay, so Chelsea, PSG, City, and Leicester City are the only 4 clubs that don't have any depth. Any depth. 0 depth, as you can see right there. And that hasn't changed since 2022. So Paris Saint Germain have a really high revenue, the 3rd highest in the world, and have no debt, which means you can use a lot of that money that it's generating. Let's look at Inter Milan. Their revenue for last year was 391 million. So he's trying to distract you, saying that they made 100 million from Serie A, and we only made 22 million from Ligue 1. Well, that's not that's not where we earned our most money. So as you can see, from match day revenue, we earned 170 million euros. That's obviously Ligue 1, Coupe de France, probably a little bit Trophée des Champions, but obviously the most of it is the Champions League. That's where you earn the most money, and that goes for all other clubs. Second of all, we can look at broadcasting, 245 million from broadcasting. He doesn't want to mention this. And then commercial, 391 million. If we compare this to Inter Milan, because he's the one that made this comparison, they only made 81 million. Wow, 81 million from match day revenue. He told me they made 100 million from Serie A alone. So already his stats are lying. Broadcasting 198 and commercial 112. And as you can see, the main difference between PSG and Inter is the commercial. That's something that Paris Saint Germain have been heavily focusing on, to generate even more revenue. The second point I want to come to is how much money we have spent. So going to Transfermarkt, Paris Saint Germain. Because yes, ever since Luis Enrique came in, we have spent a lot of money, which is, totally normal for a big club to do. When City won the UCL, I didn't hear this. Me as a PSG fan, obviously, I didn't want City to win the UCL. I wanted to win our first before they won their first. But I didn't put any asterisks or any of this. Maybe you can put something on Pep Guardiola because he has experience from previous clubs and he couldn't do it at Bayern, and it took him a very long time to do it at Manchester City. But then if we take a look at all the signings that we made, none of these are some extremely expensive signings, and even if they are, this is money that we generated through smart investing. I want to talk about this trident. Neymar, Messi, Mbappe. Neymar, Messi, Mbappe. Footballistically, in the Champions League, this trident failed. This trident failed. We had them for 2 seasons. Sometimes Neymar was injured, sometimes Mbappe was injured, Messi stunk it up. But the furthest we went in the Champions League was the round of 16. Twice. Couldn't go further than that. But what these guys gave us was insane revenue. If you look at the revenue chart right here, Messi joined in around 2021. And as you can see, we went from around 550 million in revenue up to 654, and then 802 and 806. That's something a lot of people do not want to mention. This was a strategic move by Paris Saint Germain. When we got Messi, we PSG fans, we knew, yes, this will try to help us win the Champions League and be more competitive. But the main reason was Messi. The shirt sales. If we search the most sold shirt, I think in one day, I think it's Messi PSG. Lionel Messi's PSG jersey sold out in 30 minutes, 10 jersey. This number surpasses around 832,000 copies were sold, earning the club a total of 90 million euros on its first day of jersey sales. So only after one day, we had sold 832 copies of Messi shirt. And this was the huge thing with Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe. And what was this? Was this a cheating, scumbag, Qatari move? No, this was a smart investment from Paris Saint Germain. And that's for me the issue, because I told you this guy is a Barca fan. And that has been, the biggest excuse of Barca fans. Bartomeu and even Laporta to some extent have done some terrible decisions that have fucked up Barca economically. And instead of saying, oh my God, our board is so garbage. I mean, they do say that. But then they attack Nasser for being a smart sporting director and saying, oh, you've done this, you've cheated the game. No, we all remember when Barca was splashing money left, right, and center on Ousmane Dembélé, Philippe Coutinho, Antoine Griezmann, but nobody batted an eye. If Barca had won the UCL that time, nobody would have said, oh, they bought the UCL, they should have won before. Doesn't make any sense. There's another point that's going to come up here.
PSG signed a 100 million euro striker and he flops.
Yeah, we have a lot of money because of smart investments and smart deals. Like, as I said, if you look at the revenue chart, because a lot of people want to make it about that, I don't know, Qatar injects money into PSG. We just get money out of nowhere. No, these are all smart decisions by Paris Saint Germain. And this was one of the smartest reasons that we will come to, which is the red line right here, which is the wage. Because he will soon bring it up.
Another 100 million strike.
And I don't understand this. Well, Real Madrid bought Hazard for 120 plus, because he won the UCL. There was some extra bonuses. He flopped. City bought Grealish. He flopped. Gvardia was bought for like 90 million or something. He isn't playing to that level. But when it's PSG, so they're trying to act like PSG cannot make a bad signing. Oh my days, man. And it's funny that he mentions, the 2 expensive flops. Ousmane Dembélé, who was about to win a Ballon d'Or. We bought him for 50 million euros. Did he do it? 60 million euros. Nuno Mendes, 40 million euros. Ashraf Hakimi, it was a little bit expensive, 65 million euros. Vitinha, 40 million euros. Joao Neves, 60 million euros. None of these are some crazy overspending by, as they like to call it, a country-owned club. That Qatar owns us and is just splashing money. No, they haven't. This is the money that we have generated. Another thing as well, because we'll look mainly at one transfer window where last summer we only spent like 200 million euros. It was a good amount, but we've spent more than that. But I'm going to mainly focus on this window right here, because this is the window where he's mentioning players like Gonçalo Ramos and Colomani. And as you can see, we spent 454 million euros. But one thing a lot of people do not like to mention is how much we earned from sales, 210. So we only spent 240 million this summer, and the summer after that 200 million, which is around 440 million net spend. Plus we sold Ugarte and a bunch of other players last summer for around 100, or I didn't even know it was that high. Yeah, because we've sold Xavi Simons as well. So we've sold 130 plus 210, that's 340 on what, 454. Basically like what, 300 something we've spent in the last 2 summers. That's not a big deal. But once again, the Barca fan base, the Paris Saint Germain haters always want to make it bigger than it seems so that they can cry. Yeah, and this is not one of the greatest Champions League sides of all time. they had a really tough group stage and a tough knockout stage and eliminated Inter Milan in the most beautiful fashion in the final. No. It's money.
So PSG also have the
like a rodent.
biggest wage budget in Europe.
PSG also has the biggest wage
It's
budget.
definitely great to watch. PSG won the UCL because they kept spending money.
Money until they won. I mean, that's basically what every club does. The only thing is this account and the people that are trying to spread this agenda and narrative is that PSG is the only club that does this, or PSG does it to an extent where nobody can compete. I wish we could find like most money spent since 2010 football clubs. Transfer income. Biggest spending clubs. Oh, January 2025. Okay, this could be a good one. January 2025. So it must be really updated, this one. But yeah, this has always been a narrative, and we'll actually come to the wage thing. That definitely has to be exposed. It all started off from, I remember an Arsenal fan on Twitter. All right, so... Okay, so this is since 2010. We obviously got the takeover in 2011. We obviously got the QSI ownership 2011. So basically since QSI has owned us. And as you can see, Chelsea spent way more than us. City, United. Like Chelsea and City, at least what? They've won a UCL since then. No clue. United spent this much and been garbage. But as you can see, PSG in third. Juventus not that far behind. Then you got Barca and all of these clubs. So people, when you watch that short, you would think that PSG are like, PSG or Chelsea. That could be maybe said about Chelsea, even though I still wouldn't say it because the clubs that have money use that money. So another lie exposed, and this last lie I wanted to come to was the wage thing, because I mean it's really boring, the points that they make, because I mean one Google search and you will expose it immediately. So this is the picture that they mostly go off. It's this one, and then there's a transfer marked one. There we go. These are the two pictures that I've seen circulating on Twitter. This is the first one. As you can see, highest wage bills in European football last season, 658. As you can see, last season. This was for the previous season. Here's the same one. This is for the previous season. That is the thing they're not looking at. But if you do go into Capology, which is the wage site that I always use, I wouldn't say it's 100% right and so on, but it's the best we got. And if you look at here, total annual payroll, 1.96. Obviously, I think it has to do, when you look at those pictures, it's like post-tax, pre-tax numbers and so on. But you look at PSG here, 196. Then, let's take a look at Real Madrid. Real Madrid. What's going on, man? Are the Barca fans trying to bring me down? For exposing this? There we go. 196 annual payroll by PSG. Wow. Madrid 279. Not a small disparity, it's a huge disparity. And the main reason behind that is last year we paid Kylian Mbappe around 100 million euros. Plus bonuses went up to even more than that. And Mbappe's not here anymore. So these idiotic Barca fans, idiotic PSG haters, are using wage budgets from last season when we had Kylian Mbappe to try to disprove what Paris Saint Germain have done. Because as you can see, we do not have the highest wage bill in Europe. I think we're 7th. I actually made like an actual graph of this. And Paris Saint Germain were 7th. Let's take a look at Barca. A club that does not use money. No. Barca, it's academy. Everything is from La Masia. It's owned by the socios. They couldn't have a high wage. That would be impossible, right? Barca don't buy the Champions League. They create the Champions League. That's what they say, right? Taking a lot of time here for some reason, so we have some technical difficulties for Barca to pop up here. They're really scared. They know I'm exposing them.
State-owned clubs like PSG and
State-owned clubs like Winnie, it's not good news for the sport. Again, I don't understand the state-owned and bait-owned. Why is that important? Maybe it's about the intention and so on, but I don't know why that is important. For me, as a football supporter, I want the Champions League to be as competitive as possible. You know, Paris Saint Germain and City have just made the sport of football better. Remove City and PSG and the sport would be worse. The competition would be worse. It would be even more Barca Madrid dominance. But that's the thing. Barca and Madrid dominate the narrative. Even United fans dominate the narrative. They dominate the narrative, and the narrative always goes against these two clubs. Why? Because they're seen as the new clubs. They're, you know, taking over. City's dominance of the Premier League, we've never seen something like that. PSG's dominance of Ligue 1, and now potentially dominance of the Champions League. They're crying. Oh, look at Barca. Total annual payroll, 223. And we looked at PSG's, it was 196. So even a club like FC Barcelona pays higher wages to its players than Paris Saint Germain. And this just exposes this disgusting video that has so many lies and is trying to go in this narrative that Paris Saint Germain bought the Champions League. After everything we've looked at in this video, after all the numbers we've looked at, we can clearly see that what people are trying to do is discredit the great job that Nasser Khalifi has done, the great job that Luis Campos and Luis Enrique have done with the players that they've brought in, and try to downplay Paris Saint Germain's historic Champions League victory and being a treble as well. Stop crying. Stop crying. Stop crying. And as I said, this dude is a Barca fan. And the most people that have been running this narrative is Barca fans, and then it's Premier League fans as well, because we absolutely destroy their league. Honestly, majority of Madrid fans, they've been propping us for this win. I know it has a lot to do, you know, they would want our players to win the Ballon d'Or and the Golden Boy and all of that instead of the Barca players. But they're, obviously, they have 15 UCLs. They're less scared. Barca, it's only 4 away. But yeah, that's been it for boy PSGINT. Make sure if you ever see a short like this trying to discredit PSG, or you would want me to react to it, make sure to send it to me on Twitter, and I will make sure to react to it. That's been it from boy PSGINT. We keep exposing the Paris Saint Germain haters. And as usual, allez, Paris.